President Reagan has now set in motion a program of research and development for futuristic weapons to defend this country from incoming nuclear missiles. With today's signing of a national security directive, Mr. Reagan confirmed the long-range research he proposed Wednesday night.
It will improve communications and control systems that are vital to these strategic forces.
Applications discussed in the patents included destroying missiles. Communications, control, and disruption were included. There were some other ideas, both to possibly modify weather, and finally to lift a portion of the upper atmosphere further out into space, where hopefully it would be able to deflect missile trajectories.
Zap incoming missiles, disrupt global communications, and engineer the weather.
What does HARP do? HARP is a large antenna where we beam radio frequency energy up into the upper atmosphere, and we create on a small scale what the sun normally does.
HARP uses 1 billion watts beamed straight into the ionosphere for experiments. Picture these strings on the piano as layers of the earth. Each one has its own frequency. What we used to do is beam radio waves into the ground, and it would vibrate any strings that were present in the ground. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's natural gas. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's crude oil. We were able to identify each frequency. We accomplished this with just 30 watts of radio power. If you do this with 2 billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground that could even cause an earthquake.
Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and control the rest.
And after 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
The chilling new world order where the masters of mind control will become masters of the world.
And ready? There's one more. Some people believe the technology being tested here could be used for sinister projects involving humans. Radio waves messing around with people's brain waves.
Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon.
Declassified information on mind control, weather manipulation, bioweapons, chemical weapons.
While we feel that HARP is a unique facility, it's not the only one like it in the world. HARP has some capabilities that we feel are better than some of the others. You can change the frequencies.
Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
You can shift the beam so that you can move it from one part of the ionosphere to another, and it has quite a bit more power than some of the other facilities throughout the world that are doing the same kinds of research.
The same kind of signals in the same frequency range can affect human mood. The human brain operates on very low frequencies. For example, when we're thinking, actively, we're generating about 13, 14 cycles per second. When we're meditating, we're generating 8 cycles per second. And when we're asleep, the brain waves are running at about 4 cycles per second. And HARP is capable of generating all of these frequencies. These kinds of signals can control the human brain. And if you can control these frequencies and multiples of these frequencies and various combinations, you can control all kinds of emotions. You can generate happiness, you could generate sadness. You can generate any mood you want.
Similarly, using the appropriate fields, we can induce fear and apprehension.
I chose what's called a phased array antenna for the patents because it can be aimed. Picture holding your microwave oven in your hands with the door open. Then you can move it around and send those microwaves different directions. And for these applications where I wanted precise control of where the power was, I felt that was the best type of antenna to use. And that is the kind that HARP has built.
Which is well recognized in the literature. He started first using implants in the brain. He then used radio frequency with implants, and eventually he found that energy at 1/50th of what the Earth naturally produces could, in fact, in certain frequency ranges, trigger huge mood swings. This document from Maxwell Air Force Base lays out the use of electromagnetic weapons technologies for debilitating human beings.
Using electromagnetic warfare against human beings, you can cause disease, you can cause hysteria, or you can cause passivity for population control.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish.
You can get into their minds.
Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind? Psychological warriors are bringing cutting-edge technology to a more insidious weapon: propaganda.
We're moving toward the third wave modes of warfare, which apply information, knowledge, intelligence, strategy, deception, media, the use of the media for managing the perception
There are certain cities that now have required all the new towers that are being built to be disguised.
Andrew Messing is the president of Larson Camouflage, a company that builds cell phone towers in a wide variety of disguises, from palm trees to water towers to flagpoles.
This is one of our saguaro cacti that's going up to the Phoenix area, and the antennas are concealed inside. They're extremely realistic. People drive by them all the time and they think they're real cacti.
Cell antennas are also being hidden inside all kinds of architecture, like clock towers and fake chimneys.
Any cell phone, yours included, can be pinpointed, even if you never make a call.
Cell phone users beware, Big Brother may be listening. The Federal Bureau of Investigation can now hear everything you say, even when the cell phone is turned off. I know it sounds kind of out there, but using your phone's tracking device, authorities can now activate the microphone inside the dreaded thing, allowing them to eavesdrop on you and your conversations.
We can go one stage further if you like. We can put them inside the brain. Here are human nerve cells growing onto the surface of an RFID type chip. Human brain cells don't need to be taught to do this. They are genetically programmed to work with computers. In fact, they love computers. Here's an example. Here is a chip. There's the chip. You put the brain tissue on and it organizes itself. The brain cells work their way in and they start communicating with each other and with the brain of the PC.
Could you ever really put enough electrodes into the brain to understand these signals in a meaningful way?
In your time, no. In my time, yes.
You begin to lose your individuality. You will be evolving into a rather different social entity.
How do you push the electrode to the brain?
So what you do is you actually send a certain number of them. You have a bundle, and then the bundle would be, the nanowires would be allowed to float into the bloodstream until they can go no further.
Like it or not, though, the brain-computer interface is coming along pretty quickly.
And once you figure out how to get a single electrode to accurately record brain signals, it's not too hard to get thousands to work.
It's mostly a matter of miniaturization.
National Security Agency, the NSA, visited us, and these guys they sort of have a mystique, being members of the intelligence community. You know, the people who came are very smart. They're dressed in suits that cost more than I make in a year. I think some of their interest is potentially sinister.
Large segments of our citizens believe that the United Nations is taking over whole blocks of counties in Kentucky and Tennessee, and some of them, they believe that we're going to the concentration camp and they're going to give our army to Russia and all that baloney.
The issue is we live in an interdependent world. We have to cooperate with people. We're better off than we do. We're better off with NATO. We're better off with the United Nations.
Any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
Can I ask you a question about some of the technology that you're developing to fight the war on terror, specifically directed energy and high-powered microwave technology? When do you envision that you can weaponize that type of technology?
Goodness. It is in, for the most part, the kinds of things you're talking about are in varying early stages. Do you have anything you'd add?
I don't think I would add much. I think they are in early stages and probably not ready for employment at this point.
In the normal order of things, when you invest in research and development and begin a developmental project, you don't have any intention or expectations that one would use it. On the other hand, the real world intervenes from time to time, and you reach in there and take something out that is still in a developmental stage, and you might use it. So your question's not answerable.
Its designers say it can deter attackers without killing them. The age of the ray gun has arrived, and I'm about to step into the line of fire. The active denial system is a long-range, non-lethal weapon. It uses a beam of millimeter wave energy against the target. It causes such discomfort that you have to move away. It does not matter how big or small you are. The results are the same.
In response to this need, the Active Denial System Advanced Concept Technology Demonstration has built the first non-lethal counter-personnel directed energy weapon.
It all sounds great, but what does this rather harmless-looking weapon actually do? Does it really have the power to neutralize a threat?
ADS uses a directed beam of millimeter wave energy that penetrates about 1/64 of an inch into the adversary's skin. The adversary instinctively flees.
On my mark. Mark. Stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's amazing. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see it. It comes out of nowhere. It's shocking, and it feels like an intense sunburn.
It's not so intense right here, but I can definitely hear it. And now as I start to walk in front of it, exponentially, with each step I take, it gets louder and louder. I'm having to compete with the sound. And now I'm standing right in front. I mean, it is very loud right here.
Now remember, that's the minimum level.
That's the minimum level. And
right here, evidence.
Okay. Could you increase it just a little bit? That is very, very, very loud. Okay? It's like getting punched in the eardrum. Really,
right.
it's like a laser pinpoint toward my eardrum.
The reaction we've had from test groups that we've used with this product is that it's like putting on handcuffs.
Right.
You drop what you've got and you cup your ears.
Georgian police also used a unique ultrasound machine which disoriented people. It's due to the U.S. training program given to Georgian riot police that they managed to do what they did. This year, Georgia received over $10 million, more than any other CIS state. Georgian police supplied modern anti-riot machines and up-to-date methods of fighting demonstrators.
If they continue to approach, you get a little more stern in your commands. If they get within the 500-yard perimeter, you know they are not there by accident. So then you can flip it into high gear. And the output increases by about 5,000 times per setting of the volume control. And so what I do then is give them some discomfort and go from a voice to a whole variety of tones. And so, again, it's like having bullets where you have a volume control.
But in the future, every square inch of every city will be alive with intelligence. Because every street and every building will have a network of microcomputers built right into them. Dr. Chris Piester calls it smart dust.
A smart dust particle, or mote, is a wireless sensor with sensing, computation, communication, and power in one package.
Tiny specks of computer smart dust will form a vast invisible network that can help manage the infrastructure of even the largest city.
But there are chemtrails everywhere all the time.
Correct, and they could have other chemicals in it, but one key that what I'm calling the smart dust, where smart dust is a very, very small particle at nano size that has a specific function. This looks like, if you look at certain times of the day and you see dust, but it's not dust, it's like an iridescent glitter.
Smart cities in the future will take this low-power, inexpensive, small technology and basically distribute it everywhere.
These tiny computers record information about their surroundings, information they can send to other computers.
To deploy this technology by connecting it to a vast array of sensors, billions, trillions of sensors, such as sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. But even going further to non-biological sensors, sensors, for example, monitoring the forests, sensors monitoring the oceans, sensors monitoring people, animals, organizations, homes, cars, and to stream this vast amount of data in real time or near real time to a global brain. They can extract patterns, large-scale invariant patterns from the sensory overload and to act and respond to this data.
When this biplane is on the prowl, trust me, you are being watched.
During the invasion of Iraq, just one experimental Global Hawk targeted 40% of all of the armor in Iraq. This, despite flying only 3% of the total missions.
In all, thousands of images from Global Hawk played a key role in targeting Iraqi air defenses.
First Lady of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Good evening and congratulations, Walter, on receiving the World Federalist Association Global Governance Award.
Zap incoming missiles, disrupt global communications, and engineer the weather. And ready? There's one more. Some people believe the technology being tested here could be used for sinister projects involving humans. Radio waves messing around with people's brain waves.
April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and control the rest.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
World government is the structure necessary for global justice.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
The chilling new world order where the masters of mind control will become masters of the world. Mind control will be the ultimate non-lethal weapon.
You can get into their minds and vice versa. You begin to lose your individuality. You will be evolving into a rather different social entity.
Could you ever really put enough electrodes into the brain to understand these signals in a meaningful way?
In your time, no. In my time, yes.
We can go one stage further, if you like. We can put them inside the brain. Here are human nerve cells growing onto the surface of an RFID type chip. Human brain cells don't need to be taught to do this. They are genetically programmed to work with computers. In fact, they love computers. Here's an example. Here is a chip. There's the chip. You put the brain tissue on and it organizes itself. The brain cells work their way in and they start communicating with each other and with the brain of the PC.
How do you push the electrode to the brain? So what you do is you actually send a certain number of them. You have a bundle, and then the bundle would be, the nanowires would be allowed to float into the bloodstream until they can go no further.
Like it or not, though, the brain-computer interface is coming along pretty quickly.
And once you figure out how to get a single electrode to accurately record brain signals, it's not too hard to get thousands to work. It's mostly a matter of miniaturization.
National Security Agency, the NSA, visited us. And these guys they sort of have a mystique being members of the intelligence community. The people who came are very smart. They're dressed in suits that cost more than I make in a year. I think some of their interest is potentially sinister.
Dr. Persinger's tests suggest that carefully programmed electromagnetic frequencies can tap into individual brains and influence people's emotions.
The cognitive processes of the human brain are really quite simple. And if you understand how they work, you can make entire populations think and decide the manner in which you wish. Similarly, using the appropriate field, we can induce fear and apprehension.
It's such a wide tapestry of social engineering, biological engineering, guinea pig testing going on against all of us, psychological, chemical in nature, genetic.
Psychological warriors are bringing cutting-edge technology to a more insidious weapon: propaganda.
We're moving toward third-wave modes of warfare, which apply information, knowledge, intelligence, strategy, deception, media, the use of the media for managing the perception of...
Persinger thinks the implications are chillingly real.
Suppose you generate a field that produces fear, fundamental fear, in large numbers of people. And then, over the television, more traditional ways, you say, the reason we're having this fear is because of this particular group. And now you start to move the population believing in a direction that you wish.
To influence 250 million people, the equivalent of the entire population of the United States, may not be that difficult. According to Dr. Persinger, we already have the technology, satellites and television and radio transmitters. Mind control may already be happening. We know the mysterious PSYOPs plane can beam persuasive sounds and pictures into people's television sets. Will it someday beam disturbing frequencies directly into the mind?
It turns out until 9 years ago, the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions. Only a public outcry repealed part of that law with some exceptions.
Maybe we were a biological experiment of some kind.
People say the government is up there in airplanes spraying all kinds of chemicals to change or manipulate the weather, leaving what you see there, and they call that a chemtrail.
Since the 1950s, whole cities have been bombarded with live bacteria, supposedly harmless, but causing illness and death for some Americans.
Later, the 1994 Rockefeller Report concluded hundreds of thousands of military personnel were also subjected to secret biological experiments over the last 60 years.
I got sick, my wife got sick, my daughter, everybody that lived here got sick.
Everybody in the whole town came down with like a flu, only it was a really hard flu. It didn't last like 7 days. It lasted like 7 weeks, 2 or 3 months.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention.
Another report here. Government scientists propose geoengineering Earth's upper atmosphere and then admit they've already been doing it. In the last 6 months, thousands of government publications have admitted they are altering the atmosphere. There's no longer a debate about chemtrails. They just say the details are classified, shut up. They're having it basically added to the jet fuel by law. That way it's compartmentalized. The companies buying your jet fuel have nothing to do with it. It's just done. And the nuclei is being entered into the atmosphere. And they have darkened the Earth by 40% according to NASA. They are terraforming us, altering the atmosphere.
Those who fear chemtrails could be secret biological or chemical testing on the public point to the 1977 Senate hearings in particular, which confirmed 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents between 1949 and 1969.
And he says they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me. And he says there's 100 at that time. He said there was 125,000 there. They were stacked. He told me 15 high. I asked him who owned them, and he stated that the CDC owned them and that they were leasing the land.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
Because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground. KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA. KSLA News 12 discovered chemtrails are even mentioned by name in the initial draft of House Bill 2977 back in 2001 under the Space Preservation Act. But the military denies any such program exists.
And what I found was unusual spiking since the early 1990s in barium, aluminum.
Rosalind Peterson of California Skywatch says health department records show a sharp increase in both chemicals in the water supply of Northern California, dating from the time the huge contrails first appeared over her home in Mendocino County.
It had to be airborne, because how could it get to such diverse regions of our county? We have jets going in every direction.
We wanted to find out exactly what effects barium has on the body. We spoke with Mark Ryan, the director of the Poison Control Center. Ryan tells KSLA News 12 that
Short-term exposure can lead to anything from stomach to chest pains. Long-term exposure causes blood pressure problems. Ryan addressed concerns by chemtrail researchers that barium could be meant to wear down a person's immune system.
Anything that causes ill effects in the body long-term chronically is going to affect your ability because it's constantly working on the body. So from that aspect, yeah, it's a potential.
We'll see how far this clown runs when we're done with it. Starting bearing my V. At the go.
Reading all systems down the line. Your bird is singing loud and clear.
Order number 11002 directs the Postmaster General to register all residents, including the mayor, so movement and relocation can be controlled.
Privacy advocates say they're concerned these chips could monitor or track people, medical records could be abused, and a person couldn't remove the chip if they wanted to.
But how much any device that we connect to the brain is there to help us and how much it's there to monitor or control us. We should be controlling things. Things should not be controlling us.
So suddenly you have not a human.
The FEMA plans to imprison American citizens have generated a lot of interest around the country in locating the potential prison camps throughout the country.
First, we Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill.